Very good afternoon to all of you present here. Thank you for taking out time and attending this particular panel discussion, the future of work, AI, Agent Force, Salesforce talent shift. As we all know, AI is reshaping the Salesforce ecosystem, transforming job roles and businesses. It is no longer on the horizon, it is just here. It's reshaping how we work, what we work on, and who does the work. In the Salesforce ecosystem, this shift is especially profound. Today's conversation will explore how AI, Agentforce, and the evolving talent landscape are changing the future of work and what that means for companies, professionals, and learners alike. We have an eminent panel here today. Let me introduce them to you. I have Gaurav Khetarpal, who is MVP, Hall of Fame, and CEO of OneShift Technologies. OneShift is a workforce development partner with Salesforce and training learners of Salesforce skills, including AI. Next is Sumati Mohan. She is director at Cognizant Technologies Limited, leading a Salesforce practice delivery at Cognizant itself. And Shrey Sharma, he's MVP, the youngest MVP as he calls himself, and he's a community leader. He's the CEO of Syntexa and C2 Labs, engaging with the community leaders through his sales channel called Salesforce Hub. Thank you and welcome you all. Let me start the discussion with my very first question to Gaurav, saying that we all know how is AI transforming the skills, right? So it's like impacting a lot of Salesforce professionals. Can you brief on how the transformation is happening? What kind of skills are needed? And how are you adapting your training programs to ensure professional stays ahead in this AI-driven future?
Yeah, definitely. So before I actually do that, I just want to thank everybody in the audience. I know like a lot of us here have been like, some of us arrived at 7 a.m. I actually saw a lot of people when I arrived around 7 a.m. So can we have a big round of applause for all of you who have been here and are still here?
Cheers to yourself.
Yeah. So it's been a long day for all of us, and hopefully with this session and after this session, you can wind down a little bit. But yeah, going back to your question, I think if we were to roll back the clock about 3 to 5 years back, I think AI was a nice to have skill. Like you could pretty much live without AI. Predictive AI was kind of gaining traction. Nobody has anticipated, like even the biggest research firms like Gartner, IDC, nobody actually predicted this wave of generative AI, which is sweeping through the world right now. So AI is no longer a choice in that sense. Like whether you are a working professional, whether you are a student, it is here to stay, whether you like it or not. If you don't like it, you will soon be obsolete. And again, you hear a lot of terms like AI will take your job. And then the counter argument is AI will not take your job. Somebody who knows AI better than you will definitely take your job. So the only way to save your job and to kind of grow in your careers is grow yourself in the field of AI. And again, with tools like ChatGPT, DeepSeek, and several others. And again, a lot of other tools as well, like Perplexity as well. They are kind of redefining the world of AI on a very, very regular basis. So to your question, like originally when we started off as a workforce development partner, we were doing was teaching Salesforce admin, Salesforce development. It worked wonderfully well for the first year. But since 2023 end, we actually realized this is actually not going to work. Like Salesforce introduced AI associate, AI specialist, then that converted to Agent Force specialist as well. These are skills that are necessary for people. Again, as I said, it's no longer a choice. Like it is a part of your repertoire. There are tools like Cursor, which are very, very prominent now as a Salesforce developer as well. So we pivoted our programs to include those elements. And what we have seen is the employability or the skill factor in terms of like the candidates who actually were getting trained with us earlier versus now, that is drastically different. So again, it is the future. I think there's a lot of good work happening in the area of like training and enablement AI as well. And it will just continue to happen. And now the life cycle has shortened as well. Like earlier it was years, it was months. Now if you see like there are new advancements, like nobody had heard of Model Context Protocol by January. There are actually multiple sessions happening on Model Context Protocol. A2A, which was announced at Google I/O, Google Cloud event, not Google I/O, Google Cloud Summit, pretty much few weeks back. There is actually a session on that as well. So again, technology is changing very fast in AI, and the only way to keep up with is to learn.
Yeah, definitely, Gaurav. I think everybody here would agree to what Gaurav says is you will have to keep yourself upskilling. You will have to keep abreast with what new things are happening and mold yourself, right? So that's why my second question to Sumati is like, what new skills or certifications should Salesforce professionals focus on to stay competitive in the evolving job market? And how can they make their future proof their careers in this AI infused environment? If you can put some light on there.
Definitely. See, I'm representing Cognizant here. So whatever I'm going to say is from the world of a tier one SI, right? How we think and what skills that we focus on and why do we focus on. The skill sets that we focus on is something which is going to give us the next double-digit growth. That's where the wave is and that's where the outlook is. And AI, as Preeti was just mentioning, is what the future is. If that's the case, the entire Salesforce ecosystem within Cognizant is now focused on building the next wave of talented, skilled, certified associates, not only on Agentforce, but alongside of that is on Data Cloud and, accredited professionals. I'm sure you would have all heard about that as well. So we are looking at a pool of skill sets with Agentforce, not only focusing on that, but also focusing on the functional, the technology, and the domain area. While we're looking at that, as I said, the whole perspective of a SI or a GSI like ours, which is whose results gets announced, and there are shareholders who are looking at our results. Therefore, everything is business centric. So the way we perceive it is how the business demands it. So we are seeding in our trained associates, our consultants into our large programs. And that is through the various cohorts that we're running along with Salesforce, as well as what we're doing it internally. Internally, we run various cohorts. We're running champions programs. We've attended several of their workshops. We've gotten our own pools, and we seed them into our large programs to ensure that our customers are now going across and asking for these agents into their engagements. So we do prototypes, we do POVs, and then build on, take that into the next level of scale. So that's how we are looking at it, and that's how we're building the talent pool. And obviously, the talent pool cannot be dormant. So we're building enough opportunities within our customers and in our client base through creating enough engagements around it. That's where I would come from. But there's any other questions from the audience, I would be willing to answer that as well.
Thank you. Right. So I understand that the talent pool that you're looking forward to is that upscale, rescale talent, right? So my question to Shrey would be like, this talent pool is coming in from this audience, from everybody around who is working on AI in the community that you work with, right? How these changes are being embraced by these community people? What are they looking up to? Are they ready for this shift, or what actually is the wave there in the community?
To be really honest, people are actually a little fearful, but at the same point of time, uncertain into what actually they have to embrace into this transformation that is going on. We all know that, of course, the only choice we are left with is to adapt and adapt as soon as possible to the changes or the transformation that are happening. But the main thing is how and what to focus on, because nobody really knows that how the world is going to look like 6 months down the line. Sir has said that in January, we didn't even knew what exactly it was. And today, it's absolutely different. Like, you can simply write down a prompt or even ask in a voice command in your Visual Studio Code that please do this for me in this particular code, in this particular repository, and it is going to do that for you. So when transformation is happening at that pace, nobody will actually predict that what exactly the world is going to look like in 3 months, 6 months, or whatever time frame that we are left with. So the challenge is not about adapting, but the challenge is actually in the community. The challenge is about what should we adapt and how should we adapt to that. And that is the question that everybody is seeking. And to be really, really honest, nobody knows exactly. Of course, we all know bits and bits of what we have to adapt to. We have to develop ourselves onto the skills of Agentforce, AI, MCP, as sir has said. But the main thing is that going to be a guarantee to how we should adapt, and is that going to help us serve is that going to help us keep the job that we already have at the particular package that we are already taking from our organization? Because the organization is, as ma'am has said already, the organization is completely business centric. They have shareholder meetings and everything, and they have to either show the increase into the revenue or they have to showcase the increase into the profits. And in either of the cases, if there's a possibility that company sees to increase either the profits or the revenues, they execute onto those fronts, and everybody is scared or fearful about all of those things. But there is other side of the picture of as well over there. That is, the community in itself has to help each other to understand and adapt or embrace the transformation that is going to happen, and that is going to start off within the organization itself. There are groups of people, there are groups of developers who themselves are like having conversations with each other. They themselves are trying out different tools or different simple things that they are building, and they are showcasing it to themselves. So I think that's exactly where we have to help each other. Of course, there are events like this that are happening on a larger scale where everybody is taking sessions on the best of the best things that people should learn about. But that alone, and also the Agentforce hackathons and the hands-on trainings and everything that is going on. But at the core of it, people who are working at their desk jobs need to perform the things at the desk level only in order to adapt and embrace it, and then to correlate it with the business requirements that they are serving to of their clients. And that's exactly where there's a lot of uncertainty that is there in the community, and that is something that we all are trying to help bridge the gap in.
Yeah, I understand that, because that uncertainty was there, but now with such kind of TDX events happening all around, with large conferences happening, and the buzzword is also there, and partners like you all are also doing your bit in order to bring out that upskilling part, right? So I think with those activities happening around, and the business outcomes, the business results which are required by the industry, will make everybody around here to learn, right? Learn, unlearn, relearn. That's the mantra, right? And upskills themselves, because at the end of the day, it is not, you'll have to embrace the change. You will have to go through the cycle of learning new things, bringing out your own focuses and working towards it, right? We all are here to help, to guide, mentor, to the best of whatever we all can do here, from Salesforce, from community, from industry, as well as from workforce development partners. But that fear, the way Gaurav was also mentioning, that fear is there, but I think that fear is moving out, right? What's your take on that, Gaurav?
No, I think, again, as I said, I think people are realizing it more and more. And I will request, if people at the back, like we have seats here, and Preeti has an habit of asking questions to backbenchers. If you want to avoid that, it's better.
Why don't you sit down, please, then? Or I'll pass on the mic to you for a quick question, if you have any.
But yeah, we have plenty of space if anybody wants to come and sit here. So going back, I think Shrey alluded to it as well, but has anybody here heard a term called vibe coding? It's become very popular in the last few weeks, okay?
Yes.
And again, the idea is that you do coding for your day job, you do coding for the projects that you are assigned, but there is an aspect of coding that you do it as a passion or as an interest as well. And then there are these editors, like there is Cursor, there is Clint, there are VS Code extensions, which are like paid extensions. There are free extensions as well, which basically take prompt. You can actually specify a prompt, like write an Apex class to call a endpoint on SAP and give me this particular data. It can actually do that. It will not be perfect, but it will give you a starting point. So the idea of vibe coding is, again, you are doing things, you are trying things out of passion, out of curiosity. And again, that's all driven by AI. And I expect that those initiatives will kind of grow even more and more. And it's not just developers. Like, I actually see people who had given up development or who have never done development, who are like much higher in the hierarchy on the management side. Now they are realizing the potential of these technologies, that they are even able to pick up AI. They are able to use AI-driven development tools and build applications that they never thought would be possible. So definitely it's on the rise, and it is, again, the future as well.
Yeah, thanks for that, Gaurav. So what kind of partnerships, like Gaurav, between Salesforce or government bodies, I want to bring in that aspect as well, or industry leaders like Sumati is here, will wave the next wave of the Salesforce AI, and will bring out that new things which everybody is looking forward to, and step on the next stepping stones, right? So if you can guide on that.
No, 100%. So I've been very fortunate. Like, I attend a lot of Salesforce events. I speak at a lot of Salesforce events. I was at TDX in the US. I was also at the Sydney World Tour as well. In India, we take it for granted, but in India, we are in a very enviable position. We have and again, being completely apolitical, no political intentions here, but we are in a very, very special situation where we have initiatives like Digital India, Skill India, which none of the other even mature economies like Australia, UK, US, we are way ahead in terms of how the government is actually sponsoring these initiatives. There are pitfalls again with anything with government. You take it with a pinch of salt. There is certain bureaucracy involved, but again, there's a lot of movement happening. So, for example, NASSCOM, it's not a government body, but it's doing a lot of work in terms of like making courses available on AI as well as other futuristic technologies accessible to everybody. Not a lot of people know actually government of India has skill universities. There are skill universities in every state which actually teach futuristic skills, not just technology, but other skills as well. So there's a ton of action happening in that sense. And again, Bangalore, I mean, I'm preaching to the choir. I think this is one of the most tech-friendly states in that sense. Again, it's the Silicon Valley of India, and traffic aside, it will continue to be that way. So again, there's a lot of interesting innovation happening on the government side, and we are also seeing a lot of collaboration as well. So in Rajasthan, we are not exactly the scale of like a Telangana government or a Karnataka government, but we run programs with the state of Rajasthan. We actually skill up students who are not from who are underprivileged, who are not from financially good backgrounds. We actually train them on Salesforce. We actually train them on AI. And the best part is, a lot of them actually want to learn. They just don't have the means and they just don't have the money to do so. And that's where the government is coming in, subsidizing it, offering scholarships. So in that sense, it's working out really well. And the best part is when these people are able to join the Salesforce ecosystem or any other technology ecosystem, that cycle continues. They will pass on the message to their next batch. The next batch will also enroll in those courses. And that's how I think we kind of make it a stronger ecosystem for everyone.
And Gaurav, if you would like to mention like what, as your bit, what you are doing in terms of bringing any new training programs as part of workforce development, catching them young, like academic or working professionals or laterals, right? So that this audience can, relate to it, and if required, they can come back and discuss more things with you later on. So what is your bit actually to improvise on all these things?
Yeah, so I think our programs are holistic. And again, before I answer this, one tip: when you are in a panel, never sit close to the host. Otherwise, you get the maximum questions.
That's good then.
But on a more serious note, like as I said, like originally we started off with like classical Salesforce admin development courses. We transitioned to include an AI aspect to it. Now we are also realizing, especially again, if I talk about people who are coming from like Hindi medium or from rural backgrounds, there is also a communication gap. So we run a program called Tech Elevate. It's again a workforce development initiative for us. We actually not just train them on the technical skills, but there is a whole soft skills aspect to it as well. Like we actually help them prepare for mock interviews. We throw them into group discussions on a topic which they have never heard about. We tell them, come prepared, let's talk tomorrow on it. And we put them up on stage. It may not be as big a stage as this, but they are presenting to a group of 30, 40 people. Trust me, it sounds easy, but if you have never done it in your life, you will shiver, and it's not easy for the first time. But that is to kind of take out their fear. But from a technology perspective, as I said, our kind of bet is like AI plus whatever you are doing, whether that is Salesforce, whether that is ServiceNow, whether that is Google Cloud, there has to be some component of AI in it. And again, it has to kind of fit in the overall picture. So for example, Google has Gemini, Microsoft is backing ChatGPT and OpenAI. And then there are platforms like ServiceNow has its own AI platform as well. And obviously we have Agentforce on Salesforce. So as long as that component is there, and as long as you're skilling up on that, then you are in a good position to be relevant in the future as well.
Yeah, that's very important, Gaurav, because, how will the people come to know about it? How will people learn unless they don't get all that? Those Salesforce has a lot of channels like Trailhead you are aware of. Then there are public-private courses which are going on. Salesforce Fundamentals is another course which we are going through. J2S is another course, right? So Salesforce is also doing their own bit. But we need those extended arms like Gaurav and Shrey who can bring in this change in the community, in the working professionals, in the student academia, so as to benefit out of that, right? So my question to Shrey would be like, what are your programs? How are you building up this kind of a thing through your own channel, through your own community, as well as through your organization?
So Gaurav has always been very hands-on with technology as well as people. He really wants to be there and do that in person for the people. I, on the other hand, started with a virtual things all. I mean, with all virtual things. So all what I did with Salesforce trainings also was to make it available in the most simplest form to the people with the least possible cost that they can pay, and that was nothing but the internet cost that they had to pay for Geo, right? And if and so I created a whole videos, whole content pieces, and provided free courses on Salesforce admin, developer, and a lot of other clouds as well, all for free on my personal website as well as the YouTube channel that I built along the way. And that is the same thing that I think worked out really well for me as well as for the lot of people. When I was roaming around over here and there, today itself, at least 200 to 300 people came to me personally, said this to me, that I started my career watching your videos, and they are over here and working in different companies and serving at different positions, of course. So that gave me that satisfaction and also the motivation to do more, right? So that happened very on a very small level initially, but that gave me more motivation to do more. So that's the same thing that I'm again going to follow. Double down on whatever works out for you is I think the simplest and the best effective strategy that you can focus on. So what we'll be focusing on with Salesforce Hulk is to create such programs, to create such tutorials, or to create such demos or something, things like that, with which people can get started. And if you can get people started off with something, half of your job is already done. Later on, they're going to figure it out according to themselves only. But the most difficult part is to get them started off. And if you can make it as simple as possible, that's the best thing that you can do. And that, I think that's exactly what I'll be able to do, or I'll be focusing on doing with Salesforce Hulk and as well as in my organization.
That's so nice to hear. I think all such small little steps take you to the ladder and reach out to the summit, right? And I think everybody here is doing their bit in order to bring everybody onto the agentic era, right? And not left behind, or help themselves to reskill and upskill to what actually the industry is looking at. Because at the end of the day, what business outcomes, what generates a revenue is very important, right? That's why my next question to Sumati would be like, what do you think things are going to change in next 5 years? Like, what should they do in order to future-proof their careers and bring on new things, right? Is this what we are doing sufficient? If you can guide on that, what are your ideas on the next 5 years?
Next 5 years is just too long. And with whatever I'm hearing from my co-panelists, they seem to be doing more from the community perspective. From the business perspective, I think the business is shifting. The way the industry is working, even the technology, the IT industry that each one of us are part of has had a complete shift in past 5 years, right? Similarly, these industries that you all are servicing are also shifting. The way a healthcare industry engages with its patients now, or how it was engaging 5 years prior, is shifting. And that is shifting because of the technology advancement. And that technology advancement, or that solution, or that application for them to engage with their end customer or with their other stakeholders, is something that each one of us are engaging or building or developing on. And that's where the whole, the mantra lies on the question that you asked. Look at what the business is looking at. What is their pain point? What is the technology challenge or the business challenge that they are currently having, and what is that they would like to solve in next 3 quarters, 4 quarters, a year later or 2 years later. And then your roadmap or your future evolution. 5 years hence is just too long, but if you're able to put across for a 2 quarters or 4 quarters from now, that business stays relevant or that industry stays relevant. And if they stay relevant, you stay relevant because you are the technology partner. And if the IT stays relevant, then each one of us stays relevant because we are part of it as an employee or as a stakeholder, right? So keep an eye on that. While the next big idea comes from, out of the box thinking is what people generally say, but it would be good that you organize garage sessions, you organize those sessions where you bring in the industry experts, bring the technology experts, bring the architects, bring experts like them who think from the community perspective, the talent that would be out there lying possibly untapped. Put them in a room, brainstorm. You'll possibly get what is the next big problem that you're going to solve, and that is what would wave your path for where the skill sets lies and where the demand lies. Anything that you do, if it has to stay relevant for 3 quarters or 4 quarters, should generate money, should generate revenue. If it does not generate revenue, it's very nice to have. It's NGO worthy. It's non-profit worthy. It's good to speak in charitable organizations. But you and I don't carry back our paychecks home, right? And if you want to carry back our paychecks home, stay relevant in what healthcare wants. That's the primary I see in India right now. Everywhere, a lot of health problems. Second, what financial services want, because there's where each one of us are putting our investments in. Third, look at the manufacturing, because there's where each of us are consuming those services, and the consumer goods and retail. These are the industries which are generating demands or generating the next evolution from the their customer engagement perspective. And that service is what each one of us are enabling. And that's going to be all agentified. If it is whichever is core to them, they will possibly keep it into the enterprise level. Whichever is non-core to them, they will outsource it to the agents. And if that's going to happen, the platform can be Salesforce, and the leads and the engineers who can develop can be each one of you. So keep an eye on that, and accordingly keep reinventing yourself. Don't stay put at whatever is your current skill set. Evolution is the key. Keep watching out, keep looking out, and then keep investing. Every year, at least certify yourself, train yourself. Softer skills is good. Put yourself into those situations where you can possibly learn those softer skills. But certifications speaks for themselves on LinkedIn or in your resumes, right? And that's where you're looking for. Get yourself certified, trained, and that helps. That really helps.
Thank you, Sumati. I think that's a very good guidance that you have given to all our audiences, the industries which are actually looking out, And it's like that we will have to start from somewhere, right? We will be guiding you here and there with all those conferences happening, all these buzzwords would already be there with you. You would have heard a lot of other speakers also talking about the same thing, right? From what Arundhati ma'am talked about in the keynote speaker session today about the trailhead, right? I think it's in your hand now. You will have to embrace the challenge. You will have to upskill yourself, reskill yourself, get into the adaptability mode, and start evolving yourself, right? So that's how the talent shift is going to take place in every segment then. It's just not 3 of the segments which we have here or Salesforce here, right? In every segment, in every industry, which is looking out for that adaptability of new skills would be imperative, right? So with that, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.